Mount Aspiring. It's calling our name.
How can you succeed on Mount Aspiring? 6 years ago, I didn't know much about climbing mountains.
She was just a regular city girl.
But I've learned a lot since then. Last 6 years have been a journey of immense but painful growth for me,
Enabling us to conquer one of the world's most iconic mountains, Mount Aspiring.
Last year we fell short of reaching the summit.
But instead of giving up, we rolled up our sleeves and got to work.
Are we about to conquer the mountain and reach our new heights?
Or will there be another twist in the journey?
Through careful planning, we've crafted a foolproof strategy for success.
Today we are sharing our 5-step strategy with you, hoping that you may reach your new summits too.
Climbing Mount Aspiring requires a lot of physical effort. What we are still learning is that our climbing journey begins with the first step out the door. It's a long way for us to get to the Raspberry Creek car park, where the trek up the mountain starts. So we decided to be smart about our trip from Auckland to Wanaka. As someone said, proper planning prevents poor performance.
For us, the cheapest and most convenient way of getting down to Wanaka was to start driving from Auckland at around 11 am, catch an evening ferry to cross the Cook Strait in Wellington, spend a short night at a small holiday park in Picton, and then drive the following day all the way down to the Raspberry Creek car park to start walking on the track by 7 pm.
We just started our tramp for today. It's 8 p.m. Not so bad considering that we left Picton this morning.
The plan was to break the approach and spend a night at Aspiring Hut.
It's been an hour. Now it's 9 p.m. We've done a little bit more than halfway.
The first part of the journey along the Matukituki River is very straightforward, so arriving late at the hut wasn't a problem.
Finally, the Aspiring Hut. After World War II, New Zealand Alpine Club made the decision to construct a hut in the Matukituki area, naming it after the nearby peak. Thanks to the generosity of the Espinal family, who have farmed the valley for generations, the NZIC found an ideal site for the hut on a pleasant flat with stunning views up the valley.
Recently, NZIC renovated the hut, preserving its original style while making significant improvements. They installed new double-glazed windows, created separate sleeping rooms, and added a dedicated dining area. If you are not up to climbing, but want to experience the majesty of the New Zealand outdoors, simply visit Aspiring Hut and spend the night in this beautiful spot. Experiences like this can truly change your life.
Okay, we're ready to start our day 2. It's 7:25, a bit late, but we had a really good morning. Let's see how much it takes us to get to Colin to Hut and what the adventure it will look like.
New Zealand weather is very unsettled. It would have not been New Zealand if it wasn't raining. Large inland areas like Australia, America and Europe generally have more predictable forecasts or longer stretches of predictable weather. New Zealand, much like Japan, suffers from constant changes from warm to cold, dry to wet, high pressure to low pressure. Having 4 clean days in a row is nearly impossible, which adds complexity to any multi-day climbing mission. Tackling aspiring within 2-3 days requires exceptional fitness that only a few possess. So whether you like it or not, you are likely to get wet on the approach, otherwise you might require a helicopter lift up to the Bona Glacier.
We are going for half an hour and it's going quite well. We are feeling fresh. I'm not sure how we will feel at the end of this day, but so far it's fun, it's relaxing. I'm trying to think about this beautiful nature around me, trying to connect with it somehow. Soak up this beauty, I guess. Colin to Hut is our mission for today.
The Bevan Col route is regarded as the optimal approach from December to April, with an elevation gain of around 2,000 meters and a distance of 33 kilometers from the car park.
This is the secret to the base of waterfall, and you will see some cairns and actual pathway across the bush. Just a little trick to know.
Not fit enough for a single ascent push and lacking cash for a helicopter ride, we had to figure out our own plan. As we climbed up Bevan Col that day, we knew a storm was coming and next 2 days would be disastrous. But we counted on Colin Todd to keep us safe until the weather cleared for climbing again.
We are almost at the rib on the bluffs before Bevan Col. 1 more hour, maybe a bit more to the col. We are getting a little bit short on energy, but I'm sure we will make it in good spirits.
Mount Aspiring is super popular among climbers worldwide. During the brief periods of nice weather, Colin Todd is always packed. This means there is always a risk of running out of space as the hut operates on first-come, first-served basis.
There's Colin Todd right behind me, but it will take us forever to get there, I promise.
Later that day, while chatting to climbers walking out from Colin Todd, we discovered that the hut was extremely overcrowded, with tons of people sleeping on the floor. Trying to get some good sleep in such a crowded place, that's a real challenge. But we knew the majority of hut stayers would run away because of a quickly approaching storm, so we would have the hut all to ourselves. So the hut is just over there, on the hill.
My heart is broken. I need to gain 100 meters in altitude to get to Colin Todd, and I'm already tired. Cheers to electrolytes.
It takes a full day of walking to reach the base of Mount Aspiring, and we were feeling pumped. I was looking forward to 2 days of rest before a summit push, hoping this time the mountain would allow us to stand on its top.
Knowing the exact path to the top of the mountain might save you worries on the summit day. There are 3 main ways to climb the northwest ridge of Mount Aspiring from Colin Todd Hut. One way is the classical full ridge climbing route, offering an excellent rock climbing experience with a maximum grade up to 12 and doable at any time of the year. It usually takes around 12 to 18 hours for a round trip.
Some climbers are really good at rock climbing and may not need to use any extra safety gear. Back in 2008, some protection bolts were installed on the lower ridge, but the local folks felt offended and the bolts were removed. We actually climbed this route a year ago, and for us, a nice bolt is still better than having a bunch of old, rotten nylon slings bobbing around the ridge and rusty pythons sticking out of the rock left by climbers. Saving the world, hey!
A convenient time-saving option to complement the full Northwest Ridge route is provided by the ridge access shortcuts known as Kangaroo Patch and snow ledges that bypass the crux of the climb, also known as the buttress, on the Therma basin side of the ridge. These snow patches are typically gone by mid-December, depending on the year. Taking such an option significantly eases the overall effort and likely does not require placing any protection. These variations typically take around 8 to 12 hours a round trip.
Now, the ramp route offers a skyrocket ascent to the top of Mount Aspiring. Various difficulties of the lower part of the Northwest Ridge and the buttress can be totally avoided by descending to the Bona Glacier from the hut, then following easy snowy slopes up until reaching a steep snowy ramp on the south face of the buttress. From there, it's just a breeze straight up to the summit. This option usually becomes inaccessible by late November. Unfortunately, there have been fatalities on this route, so it's important to be extra cautious, especially in the late afternoon when the snow softens and the slope steepens. The return journey might take between 6 to 8 hours.
While staying at Colin Todd Hut, we met an Australian guy named Eugene and his friend. On that day they attempted to climb the ramp but couldn't get past the rock showing through the berggrund on the upper ramp, roughly grade 14. So they had to turn back on a perfect bluebird day because they ran out of time for the classical route. In the end, they were also exhausted from their approach on the previous day. They neither had energy to walk off to the car park straight away, so the following storm the next day made their descent absolutely miserable. When we spoke to Eugene later, he said, "I'm done with draining approaches. Next time I'm taking a helicopter lift up." As we spoke to the climbers returning from their successful summit, we learned that we could use the Kangaroo Patch and Therma ledges for our ascent, as they were just passable. The only question was, would they survive the upcoming 2-day storm? I'm an extrovert and I love chatting and communicating with people, but sometimes, especially when I come to places like this, I figured it out. I often want to be alone. Yeah, it was very good yesterday. We had a lot of good conversations with these people being here in the heart, but then they left. And I feel like, wow, that's the promised land for me. And first thing, I start with the cleaning of the hut, because the stairs of the hut left in terrible conditions. And I'm basically cleaning everything, putting everything in order, making it shining, and then I sit down and enjoy it. I'm a perfectionist. I wouldn't say a perfection freak, but I really love when things are looking nice. Yeah, there is something in that, isn't it?
Staying in an empty Alpine hut is an extremely pleasant experience. Here, amidst the storm, you are fully present in the moment, forgetting all your problems and challenges back home. For us, it feels like a mind cleanse. Away from the city buzz, you almost reconnect with nature and the source of life. If you've ever experienced anything like this, you would immediately resonate with it. It's undoubtedly a time of spiritual blessing.
This is something nice we discovered. We always carry a pack or two of olives. This is really lightweight and it's so yum because you crave for salty things on your adventures.
It's 3:30 in the morning. We are finishing our very well done cooked breakfast.
Soon we will lace our boots and venture off into the darkness
To climb Mount Aspiring. It's time to go. We all have fears that fill us with dread. For me, the darkness while climbing is particularly unsettling. This fear often delays our departure from the hut and has even caused us to miss reaching summits in the past. Stepping out of the hut into the dark for an early Alpine start is one of the most terrifying moments of my life. They say confronting our fears can make us stronger, and I believe it. With practice and courage, I know I can overcome it. By facing my fears step by step, and focusing on the climb's purpose, I'll gradually grow stronger. Mountain climbing teaches us to take small steps and build our strength slowly. I am confident that with determination and perseverance, I'll conquer it completely. So don't let your fears hold you back. Embrace them as opportunities to grow and become the best version of yourself.
The snow is quite soft and mushy, and it's not even sunrise. The freezing level is quite high already.
As we expected, the snow was soft and soaking wet after the storm. But we didn't have much choice with a brief window of opportunity before the next round of bad weather.
We're nearing the Kangaroo Patch. It's relatively close. I'm not sure how long though. Hopefully we will jump to the ridge quite quickly.
Climbing up the Kangaroo Patch was easy, and within 2 hours we were back on the northwest ridge in the gap before the buttress. The scenery was stunning.
We just made it through the crevasse and the bergschrund. That was epic, and I hope I don't need to experience that fear today anymore. Made it to the rock ridge. It took us 2 hours through the Kangaroo Patch. That's such a cool progress. It's 6:30 a.m. Sun just risen maybe 30 minutes ago. We had a 15-minute break, and we're ready to attack this buttress section.
The rock on the ridge was slippery and wet, so we decided to use the rope for one tricky step, and we didn't need to use it again. The climbers said the snow ledges on the Therma side were just okay to use, and they were good enough for us to get past the buttress. It turned out to be almost a stress-free adventure. A good morning tea break on the ridge above the clouds turned out to be a well-deserved treat.
This is our quick second breakfast before we end this nice ridge and join with the ramp. And then there will be just a snow cap, I hope.
With the crux of the climb behind us, we faced a steep 3-hour trek to the summit. Yet Mount Aspiring is a mountain with a character and rarely let you stick to your well-crafted strategies. Sooner or later, you'll likely find yourself improvising, whether it's just a little or a lot. As the clouds closed in just 500 meters from the summit, Mount Aspiring revealed its true nature. The supposedly straightforward ridge walk to the top, usually accompanied by stunning views, turned into a monotonous journey of wet rock scrambling and slogging through soft, unpleasant snow. On the bright side, it was only 10 am and the forecast predicted relatively fine weather with winds below 25 km per hour. We reached the summit around midday, approximately 8 hours after leaving the hut. Instead of a triumphant climax, the cloud made it feel more like a moment where we would suddenly run out of mountain to climb.
We've done it.
Oh, I can't believe it! Yeah. Unfortunately, we cannot see anything. Can't see anything. We can only see the cornice, and that we suddenly ran out of the mountain to climb. This is it. High five, fun one.
Yeah.
We set our packs down and snapped a few selfies. Unfortunately, the cloud cover dashed any hopes for an epic ascent video.
We spent about 10 minutes enjoying a well-deserved chocolate trophy and sipping our hot tea. There was no point in lingering any longer.
Time to go down. Sally, tell us what's the time.
It's 12:30, and when we get to the hut, I guarantee the mountain will be clear. We've seen that many times, and that's how it works. You get to the top in a complete whiteout, then you get back to the hut, full view, clear as. Anyway, it is what it is.
The descent followed the same dull route, nothing exciting, but at least we got the summit. Finally! Later we learned that this kind of weather pattern is typical for Mount Aspiring. Unless it was a clear bluebird day, thick clouds would typically hover over the summit between 10 am and 4 pm. So for the summit view, we should have left the hut by at least 1 am. One other thing mountaineering has taught us so far is to be grateful for whatever we've got. You can't win all the time, and we are immensely grateful. The rest of the descent was mostly walking down through the clouds. The weather got worse, and we knew it was raining back at the hut. Since we are already familiar with the route, the return to the hut was quite relaxing. We took it step by step, one push at a time.
A summit day on Mount Aspiring is a real challenge. If you haven't climbed any of the New Zealand's 3000s yet, it's going to be unlike anything you had experienced before.
For us, this mountain was a big step up in our mountaineering journey, even though we didn't catch any views Aspiring has to offer. 6 years ago, neither of us knew anything about mountaineering.
I used to be a scout tramping instructor, but Angelica had never been outdoorsy. She was just a regular city girl. Over these last 6 years of learning mountaineering in New Zealand, we have had lots of successes, but even more failures.
Accepting failure is the first step towards success. In the mountains, every mistake is a chance to learn. Our setbacks are just steps on the path of reaching new summits.
These 6 years have been a journey of immense growth for us, enabling us to conquer one of the world's most iconic mountains, Mount Aspiring. As we journeyed back to civilization the following day, we caught another glimpse of this majestic giant.
It's been said that the mountains are calling, and on a good day you can almost hear them whispering your name. By that time we knew it's called an obsession. There is something truly magical about just being in that space, sitting and gazing up at the snowy peaks.
And for us, the journey has only just begun. There are countless lessons yet to learn, many more summits to reach, but perhaps the greatest reward lies in not what we achieve, but in who we become along the way.